Hello and welcome to episode 124 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hi, kicking it with me today on the stream of dreams, the show of shows, and everything in between. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree. That is linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. That is YouTube, that is TikTok, that is Twitch, that is Instagram, that is Threads, that is regular old Instagram and Instagram. Now, listen, I'm all over the place. I have spread myself as thin as this body can possibly go, all in the name of talking about video games on the internet, and in some cases playing video games on the internet. If you did not have a chance to check it out, I streamed a little bit of Fallout 3 on Friday. That was last Friday. And then on Tuesday, streamed a little bit of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, potentially dipping my toes back into the world of streaming video games on the internet. So really all that came down to was making sure that like the audio was good, that the game, like my voice and the game volume and all that stuff was good. But hey, played a little bit of Indiana Jones, had initial trouble. If you go watch that video that's on Twitch, twitch.tv/GnittWitt, you will notice that the first little bit of that video is funky, and then I ironed it out. Away we go. It is a reminder that I need to adjust some settings if I were to continue streaming on the internet while playing video games. I need to do a couple of quick adjustments there. Regardless, showed off some of that game, and then I played that game for like about an hour, and then I got stuck on a puzzle, and then I said, "Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you later." I've been GnittWitt. Thanks to musical guest Jay-Z. Maybe I shouldn't make a Jay-Z reference these days. That was more of an SNL reference, but the point is, played that. I finally shot a gun in that game. I did not shoot a lot of guns for the longest time playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I finally shot a gun in that game. I am just under 4 hours into that game. I don't know. Like I've seen people say like, oh, it's like 17 hours. Oh, it's like, How Long to Beat says you could get through it in 11 hours. I'm not too sure. There is a lot of side content in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So I'll see what I could do about getting around to that. But we're going to talk Indiana Jones and the Great Circle later on in the podcast. In terms of what I have been playing, we are going to kick things off with the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle review roundup in just a moment. And just a reminder that you should probably get your Christmas shopping done, your holiday shopping done, whatever you got going on, get that done. Don't wait. I have marked on my calendar things like Game of the Year, recordings, when I need to record Game of the Year. I also totally forgot that tomorrow is the Game Awards. So we will cover the Game Awards. What we'll probably do for the Game Awards, I know for those asking, is what we'll probably end up doing is I'm going to stream the Game Awards. If you want to tune in live, 4:30 Pacific Standard Time, we will be streaming the Game Awards, me talking over the Game Awards, if that is something that you want to do. And then we'll just cover those, awards and whatnot on the podcast that Wednesday, which means that if you are listening to this, next week's podcast will be the last regular podcast of 2024, because I will do the podcast. We will cover Game of the Year. We will cover the Game Awards, announcements, reveals, awards, all of that stuff. And then when I would have regularly done a podcast would be mother effing Christmas Day. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to record a podcast on Christmas Day and get that out there. So there will be in 2 weeks, there'll be no regular podcast. Instead, you will be getting a Game of the Year podcast. Now that I have not determined when exactly that podcast is going to come out. I do know when I'm going to be recording it. I will be recording that podcast live, most likely. So if you wanted to be there when the reveals happen or whatever, that's cool. But I'm thinking it might be a scenario where we record the Friday the 27th. That is going to be live Friday the 27th, and then have that podcast out probably by like the Saturday. Like there's no need for a short turn, for a long turnaround time. Like if I'm doing it live, we'll get it out there. So market things on your calendars. We got the Game Awards podcast that is happening. The Game Awards live stream that is happening tomorrow, 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. You can watch it anywhere and everywhere, but if you want to hang out with me, you can do so. Twitch.tv/GnittWitt. We got a regular podcast next week. That is a Wednesday, the 18th. And then we will be recording Game of the Year on the 27th of December live. And we will then have the video version and the podcast version out on, probably that night, if not Saturday morning. But forget all of that. Let's talk Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle the last great game of 2024? We are going to find out, because we're going to take a look at the breakdown of the reviews over on opencritic.com. Shout out to opencritic.com. So what I have here is I got it loaded up on here. I just realized I know what's different about this podcast setup is I put the stuff in the wrong place. That's what it was. Oh, that's what I did. Okay. Here's what we got. 80 reviews of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle are now up over on opencritic.com. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is currently sitting at an 86% average, with 92% of critics recommending the game. I would say that's pretty damn high. That's what I would say. It maybe doesn't quite crack the 2024 Hall of Fame list for OpenCritic. Currently, well, maybe we'll do this. We'll do this in a little bit. But what do we got? We got 86% average, with 92% of critics recommending it. Overall, very high scores. There's like no bones about it. Considering Indiana Jones is an archaeologist, no bones about it. That's high review scores across the board for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Let's kick things off looking at the review from PC Gamer. Gave it an 86 out of 100, saying, like if an immersive sim got caught in a teleporter accident with Uncharted. Some aspects of the Great Circle are weaker than others, but it joins Batman Arkham and GoldenEye in the god tier of licensed games. Eurogamer 5 out of 5, saying, smart, fun, and so very Indiana Jones. The Great Circle is a stealth action tour de force that marks a bold new era for machine games. IGN 9 out of 10, saying, an irresistible and immersive global treasure hunt, and far and away the best indie story this century. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle doesn't belong in a museum. It belongs on your hard drive, where you can play the heck out of it. Games Radar Plus 5 out of 5, saying Indiana Jones and the Great Circle shows there's still plenty left for Lara Croft and Nathan Drake to learn about raiding tombs from the Master. GameSpot 9 out of 10, saying Indiana Jones and the Great Circle takes an unexpected, stealthy, and freeform approach, making for a faithful, rip-roaring adventure in which you truly embody the famous archaeologist. Destructoid 8 out of 10. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is an incredibly authentic Indiana Jones experience, and Machine Games really makes you feel like you are Indiana Jones. If you are looking for an epic journey of exploration with a fun and mysterious story, that's exactly what you'll get with the Great Circle, and with a level of high polish to boot. And we will wrap things up with this 5 out of 5 review from Video Games Chronicles. As always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles. Jordan Midler over at Video Games Chronicles says, we had a smile on our face from beginning to end while playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. As close as games can come to a genuine old-fashioned Hollywood blockbuster, it's also an incredibly rich adventure stuffed to the gills with secrets to find. Turns out, a lot of people really like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It is perhaps surprising that the review scores as high as they are, but we never really should have doubted Machine Games and their ability to craft such an adventure. Now, one of the things that kept coming up while discussing Indiana Jones: The Great Circle was stealth, freeform stealth, open stealth, all of this stuff. This is a different game, a significantly different beast, excuse me, than something like the Wolfenstein games. The Wolfenstein games did offer some amount of freeform approach to stealth, and things like that. Like, don't get me wrong, but it didn't quite have the level of openness in terms of the environments that you were navigating in. Such as there are significant amount of side quests and side activities that you can participate in Indiana Jones. In fact, I was listening to the Jeff Gerstmann podcast earlier this week. He was talking about it. He's loving it, whatever. And he mentioned something. In the first open level in Indiana Jones is the Vatican. You're running around the Vatican doing dirt. And it is the Vatican just as it is about to be taken over by Mussolini and his fascist goons. And apparently there's a secret like boxing club that is happening in the Vatican that you could enter under disguise and do a side quest for that. And I hadn't even seen that. I was too busy taking pictures of different things that people wanted in and around the Vatican. And like I said, we're going to cover more of Indiana Jones later on in the show in terms of what I think. But there is a lot of openness to it that did not exist in the Wolfenstein games. And I would say that this actually more harkens back to Machine Games' past work. And we're going way, way back to the Chronicles of Riddick games that they originally made. I think it was back on like the PS2, PS3 era. Chronicles of Riddick games, and it's a scenario where it is a first-person game. It is from the first-person perspective. You are shooting in first person, but really there's far more emphasis on traversal, climbing, navigating the environment, stealth kills, and using hand-to-hand melee combat with maybe a dash of improvised weapons. So in the case of something like Indiana Jones, yes, you can shoot dudes sometimes, but it is far more effective to go and grab, I don't know, a shovel off the ground, sneak up behind somebody and bonk them on the head. It also has a little bit of that Hitman stank on it, because there are times where you are actually going in undercover, like in the first level of the Vatican, where you are undercover as a priest, and the things that you can do to kind of sneak around guards. Oh, this one guard can spot the disguise, but the other guys are too stupid, but you're in the disguise anyway, so you're clear for like 80% of the enemies, all of that stuff. Like it is definitely more of an, I would also say more of an adventure game, in the sense that there are also a lot of puzzles to do. I will say that there are a lot of hints and guides and systems in place to help you with puzzles. I'm going to admit, and I'll be the first to admit it, when it comes to video games, I have almost no patience left for puzzles, for getting stuck. Like, I am here to be on the roller coaster, to go up and down the roller coaster, turn my brain off for the most part, and have a good time. That is not everybody. Some people want a challenge. Some people want to think. Some people want to, look at things in a strategic way. Some people want to do all this stuff. That's fine. It's fine. Mikasa, Sukasa, whatever. That being said, I don't even think that even made any sense. That being said, there are a lot of hint systems and stuff in place for those puzzles. So when you put it all together, it's a game that maybe is less of an emphasis on shooty, bang, bang, and more sneakiness. And when you're not doing that, it is it's a large amount of, puzzle solving and navigating through the environment. So I would say, like, if you are coming to this from the perspective of like, man, I loved shooting Nazis in Wolfenstein, let me shoot more Nazis. It's not that you can't do that. That is just not quite what the experience is. And I would argue, similarly with what people mentioned in the reviews, that it is more of an authentic Indiana Jones experience. Because when you think about Indiana Jones, he is not gunning down, 80, 90 dudes in a movie. He's just, that's not that guy. He is more of a rough and tumble, put up your dukes sort of guy. It isn't until he's sick during a shooting day where he decides to pull out a gun and shoot somebody. I also found the revolver to have very limited ammo for whatever that's worth. But long story short, very high reviews for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and definitely more of a stealth action game than maybe I was expecting, and maybe more aligned with what we know and expect from the people over at Arcane, the people that make the Dishonored games, right? That is definitely more stealth action than the last Wolfenstein stuff, but nonetheless, a successful game from Xbox. Xbox needed to win, and they seem to have one on their hands. Towards the end of the podcast, I will talk more about the game and what I think. But let's move on to news. I covered this last week, and then it just came out, and I was like, why did I even bother covering it? We'll get this out of the way first and foremost. The Thing Remastered is out now. There you go. You can go play it. It's out now. Do your thing if you want with The Thing Remastered. It is out now. That came out the day after we did that podcast. So I was like, why are they saying it's coming out soon if they didn't give a date? Because they were going to just drop it anyway. So, hey, you can go play The Thing Remastered now. It is out now on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. If that is your thing. It now features 4K resolution. All right, let's move on. Last week we talked about the end of X-Defiant. The X-Defiant is not done yet, but they've announced that it is ending. And we have now gotten confirmation that another game will see its last update. I am talking about Suicide Squad. Its current season will be its last, and an offline mode will be coming later this week. It is going to get its final seasonal update in January of next year. It will also get it has already received the long promised offline mode. So if you remember Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and who doesn't remember Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, that was a game that was an online only game, whether you played it by yourself. So that was a game where if you were playing it by yourself, you still had to connect to their servers. You still needed to have a connection to your internet device, all of that stuff. Now, that is no longer the case. You can still play with other people if you can find anybody else that wants to play Suicide Squad. But the other thing to note is that they're adding one more playable character. That is Deathstroke. They will be the final character added in season 4, episode 7, which is out now. They will also wrap things up with season 4, episode 8, which is scheduled to come out in January of next year. It will serve as the last seasonal episode for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. They said, while season 4, episode 8 will mark the final battle against Brainiac, all online features will continue to be available, so you'll be able to enjoy co-op with friends, as well as all previous seasonal episodic content. You'll also have the option to play the game via a new offline mode, which allows access to the main story campaign and all post-launch seasonal content without an internet connection. Players will need to create a new offline mode profile, which can be done by copying an existing online mode profile or making a brand new one by starting the game from scratch. So if you want to carry over whatever progress you had in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, you can do so. But if you want to start the game from scratch, you can. But it will mean like there's some sort of trick that they have to pull to move your stuff to offline if you wanted to do so. Is that game on sale? Is it? I guess that's my thing, is like, if I go to Steam, if I go to PlayStation, it will go to PlayStation. Oops. PlayStation Store. I go to the PlayStation Store and I type in Suicide Squad. How much is Suicide Squad? That's way too much money. That's way too... What? Come on now. They got the digital deluxe edition of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It is 80% off for $24. That is way too much money. That is way too much money. I thought that game was a lot cheaper. I guess wrong. Is it any cheaper on Steam? No, it is not currently any cheaper on Steam. Regardless, pour one out for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League if that is your thing. There's this sick evil lurking inside of me that thinks I should go fire up that game in January when that final content update comes out. But then I also remember that I probably have better things to do than fucking waste my time playing Suicide Squad. I will admit I have played more of that game than I care to admit, despite not particularly liking it. But that's because I had to suffer for your enjoyment when we do the Game Awards, the Game of the Year podcast. And I can tell you all about my time with maybe the worst game of 2024. This happened just before we started the podcast. Day of the Devs, the Game Awards edition happened. We have a list of everything that was shown and announced during the Day of the Devs Game Awards edition. If you remember, Day of the Devs also something that happens around Summer Game Fest and the video games showcases of the summertime. What do we got? We got Bionic Bay, which is a platformer that combines an innovative swap mechanic with realistic physics systems. And that is coming out March 13th. I don't have consoles. I don't have platforms for a lot of these games, so just bear with me. I will also mention, if you want to watch the video, Day of the Devs video is up now on YouTube if that is your thing as well. Panic is working on a game called Blippo Plus. It uses 1-bit graphics to provide players with what appears to be some sort of satire on television. It looks fucking rad. The Blippo Plus looks cool as shit, but I also I don't know. I don't have, is this like coming to actual things, or is this coming to the now I have to look at, you should look at Blippo Plus, man. I can't. Okay. It seems like, oh, okay. Full motion video. Yep. Great. It's coming to PC. Great. You should look at Blippo Plus because it looks weird. Blueprints. Blueprints is a first-person game that combines strategy, adventure, and compelling environmental puzzles set in a large estate with shifting rooms and a mysterious history. Crescent County. Crescent County is a single-player open-world delivery life sim set on a painterly witch-tech solarpunk island. And it's got a cool look. I think you're like you're on a horse or something. You know what? Here's the thing. I like when indie games do. I don't think you're on a horse. You could be on a horse. It's really hard to tell by. No, you're on some sort of broomstick, I think, maybe. Yeah, that's what it is. You're on a broomstick, not a horse. Though you could argue that the back of a horse kind of looks like a broomstick, depending on when's the last time you saw a horse's ass or a broomstick. The point is, I like it when indie games try to tackle open world games. Usually, in my experience, indie games that are open world tend to have more meaningful side content. They tend to have more interesting secrets and stuff off the beaten path compared to some large open world games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where it feels like we're way overboard with the quantity versus quality argument. I don't necessarily need photorealistic, super crazy open world, whatever. I'm more than happy to take on a much smaller, more focused open world game, and Crescent County seems to be doing that. Demon Tides, which is the sequel to Demon Turf. I never played Demon Turf, but it's got a great looking art style. Seems like it's a 3D platforming game that looks really neat. Feltopia. Now this has got a cool look, man. Feltopia is that looks really neat. What's the best way to describe it? Well, they describe it as a cozy take on arcade side scrollers set in a hand felted woolly world brought to life with stop motion animation. So ideally, or sorry, basically what we're looking at, and you should look up Feltopia. It is all wool, like spun, like graphic design, with stop motion animation. It is really, really neat. And it seems to be some sort of arcade shooter. That is a gorgeous looking game. Wow. You should look up Feltopia. It looks fucking rad. Hyper Light Breaker. It has been some time since Hyper Light Breaker was originally announced. And the game was supposed to have a late 2023 release. It is now late 2024. So that shows you where Hyper Light Breaker is at. It's now been pushed back to January 14th, 2025. It's coming out on Steam Early Access. Hyper Light Breaker looks dope. I should really go back and play Hyper Light Drifter. This game also looks fucking wild as hell. I don't know how to pronounce, Incolatus Don't Stop Girly Pop. I hope I pronounced that right. Incolatus Don't Stop Girly Pop. What this is this game is this is how to describe it. I'm going to read it to you verbatim. It is a Y2K girly pop arena style movement shooter where standing still is not an option. The faster you go, the more damage you deal and the more you heal. The game tells the story of a mining company trying to drain the world of the love, a natural force keeping the planet alive. Kill him with kindness, the developer says. Every point of damage dealt against a robot is one piece of the love released back into the environment and one step closer to the end of Tigris Nix. This is a early 2000s looking game that I have quite honestly never seen before. It is, if you do anything, you should look up Incolatus Don't Stop Girly Pop. You should look up Feltopia, and for the love of God, please look up Crescent County and Blippo Plus. These are some cool looking games that were shown during shown during Day of the Devs. Another really cool looking game is Kingmakers. Kingmakers is what if Army of Darkness was a video game. The idea being that you are a player in ancient historical times, but you are using modern weapons. So you are basically, it shows like dudes running around with like an assault rifle or a shotgun, and he is shooting knights in armor. And it is grenade launchers, and it's ridiculous, and you should really go look it up. Especially if you are a fan of Army of Darkness. Neon Abyss 2 has been announced. I think Neon Abyss 2 was a pretty neat roguelike run and gun game. Interesting to see how the sequel shapes up. But really, the thing for me, when I saw this, I was just, man. At Day of the Devs, they announced a game called PBJ the Musical. And yes, this is the story of peanut butter and jelly. I'm going to read to you the entire blurb for this game. What do you get when you cross a platformer with a strange cutout montage art style that wouldn't look out of place on Monty Python's Flying Circus? The answer appears to be PBJ the Musical, a platform game telling the story of the peanut butter and the jelly sandwich filling. Imagine Romeo and Juliet, but it's peanut butter and jelly, the developer Camibox says. This handcrafted musical game tells the badly researched story of the iconic sandwich's tragic origins. Join Peanut Boy and Strawberry Girl on their journey across animated paper landscapes to the music from famous Crumble Lady Lorraine Bowen and unlock spin-off remixes from different artists. Yeah, this is some Monty Python. You ever play Rock of Ages? Kind of has that going on for it as well. Man, I am just like, I am so stoked. I'm so happy this is like the coolest shit I've seen in a long time. And I'm looking at pictures over here. Like I'm looking at pictures. I'm not even looking at videos. This is just pictures and words, and even I am hyped for this. Sleight of Hand is a new moody adventure game that is a third-person stealth action card sim about taking down the coven you used to run with. Very moody, very noir looking game. It also features the voice of Debbie Mae West, who voiced Meryl in the Metal Gear Solid games. Tankhead. Say it one more time. Tankhead. It is an intriguing combat adventure, which, surprise, is out to... Oh shit, this is out today? I gotta play me some fucking Tankhead. I think you're a tank. I think you're rolling around as a tank. The description is: explore the ECA, a world torn apart by war and a mysterious cataclysmic event that left it uninhabitable by humans, where humans must teleproject their minds into drones in order to survive and pilgrimage the remains of a once great society. This looks neat. So I guess you are telepathically taking over drones and tanks. That looks super rad. That looks really, really neat. And I cannot wait to check that out. I will maybe check that, see what the price is for that and check that out during the podcast when I take a break. We're going to wrap things up before we take a break with one more news story here. PlayStation's 2024 wrap up is now live. If you wanted to know how much PlayStation you played earlier this year, you can now do so. It is up now. However, it's broken. It doesn't work. I tried launching it when it first came out yesterday. I think it was yesterday. It doesn't work. It still doesn't work. I don't know what's happening. It's just every time you click on it, it just says, "We'll be right back." And it's just broken. So PlayStation is working on their 2024 wrap-up situation, but currently it's under wraps and it's broken, but you can check it out when it comes up, hopefully sooner rather than later. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have more news. We've got a lot more news, so stick around. We will be right back. Welcome back to the podcast. I continue to be GnittWitt, and Cyberpunk 2077 continues to receive updates. I know, the amount of times that I have come on this show and said, hey, this is probably the last Cyberpunk 2077 update. Well, they did another one. It is out now. That is update 2.2. Now, this is maybe not the most earth-shattering, crazy update that they have done before, but there are some things to note about this update. They have introduced something called Rayfield's Crystal Coat technology. You can now change the paint job of your cars if you want to. What else have they done? Blah, 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 blah. Let's see here. A lot of this seems to be like character customization and car customization options, which is kind of neat. I believe they've also added new vehicles for you to purchase. So if you wanted to purchase some cars, you can do that. They've also updated the photo mode. If that's your thing, if you want to update photo mode, you can do that. Man, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. I'm actually, wow, this list is way longer than I thought it was going to be. When we're talking character customization options, they've added 32 new eye colors, 18 new lip makeup types, 17 new nail colors, 10 cheek makeup types, 16 new eye makeup types, 4 new face scars, 5 new eyebrow shapes, 4 new face tattoos, 2 new body tattoos, and 8 new cosmetic face cyberware options. So if you like customizing your character or perhaps re-customizing your character, you can do so now with all of those new upgrades and additions inside Cyberpunk. They've also upgraded the character creator randomizer to feature a new plane to punk slider, which means that if you are looking for a casual looking character, but don't actually want to make one, you can set basically this value to be like, I just want a normal looking person. I don't want anyone crazy looking. Or if you're like, I'm a sicko, but I can't be bothered to make my character, just make me a sicko. You can do that as well. They also said here in the patch notes, added more secrets to discover in Night City. One thing I do know is that they added a quest to that game that is tied into Balatro. I don't know how or why or how any of that works. But they can. There's now a Balatro quest in that game. They also said that they've rephrased objectives for quests that tell you to wait a specific amount of time to progress. The game is designed in a way that doesn't allow players to simply skip the in-game time to advance the objective, instead of requiring them to continue playing the game to trigger the next event, which is definitely something that happens. So I'll give you an example. In Cyberpunk, you'll be going around doing whatever, and somebody will say, hey, thanks for helping me. I'll call you later and we'll continue this story, right? And then you just don't know how long that's going to take, but it eventually pops up as you continue to do side quests and other story missions and whatnot. This at least now gives you a better idea of how long it'll take for something like that to happen, which is kind of neat. What else did they add here? They added a bunch of stuff for Phantom Liberty. That's the premium DLC that they sold. Gameplay wise, they fixed one of the katana finisher animations so that it now properly decapitates enemies. So if you're like, finally, I'd like to decapitate my enemies with my katana properly, you can now do so. The car horn will no longer honk when the player reloads a weapon during vehicle combat while playing with a controller. They should have kept that in there as far as I'm concerned. Fixed an issue where the Night City Police Department could stop functioning properly after V engages in a shootout in Pacifica between the Voodoo Boys and Trauma Team. Great. And then they made it faster and run better on Intel process and a bunch of crazy shit. And I this really begs the question. I've asked this question before. I firmly believe, having now played Cyberpunk 2077, that most people who enjoy playing first-person games, most people that enjoy playing story-based games, most people that enjoy open-world games, most people who fall under one of those categories, most people should play Cyberpunk 2077, which begs the question, when is the right time to play Cyberpunk 2077? Is it now? Probably. But what if an update 2.3 comes out and you're like halfway through the game and it addresses stuff that would have been better in the first half of the game that you already played? Like, we live in interesting times where seemingly games get updated forever. And I'm really curious to know, like, I would like to see what this game looks like when it is done. When it is like done, because I think at this point, 2.2 is not the last time we're going to see an update from Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know what that update will be. Maybe they'll finally do a PS5 Pro update. I'm not too sure. They've done a lot of work to the game graphically, to fix the bugs, to fix the gameplay and add stuff to it. Like, the list goes on and on and on, right? I mean, for God's sakes, they just added like 32 new eyes to the game. Right? Not necessarily something that I think they needed to add to the game, but hey, some people want to make their... Oh, here's the thing. Okay, I know you might be thinking, man, who gives a fuck about the color of the eyes of the character in the game? It is a first-person game. What the hell? Keep in mind that the game also features a photo mode where you can present everybody in a variety of different ways and scenarios. So if you are big on taking photos in the game, you want to do goofy stuff, whatever, it's going to be helpful to have like 17 new nail color options if you wanted to, make up your character a certain way, and then make them into a photo mode. So all I'm saying is, like, there's probably never been a better time to play Cyberpunk 2077. I still have not played that DLC. I would like to get around to that DLC one of these days, but they are continuing to work on that game long after they necessarily needed to, but I say, hey, more power to them. Let's talk Call of Duty. Multiple classic Call of Duty games have started to appear on the Microsoft PC store, and all signs point to eventually these games coming to Game Pass. There's even a Call of Duty game that was a PC only Call of Duty game at release that is now on the Microsoft Store. Now I'm curious to know, if I go to store, how much they asking for these Call of Duty games? Not that I would buy them. Don't get it twisted. I would not buy these Call of Duty games. There's no point in me buying these Call of Duty games when I could probably wait for them to come to PC, or sorry, come to Game Pass. Where's the best way? I'm going to type in Call of Duty. How much they want. Where are these games? All right. Here we go. The 2007 video game Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is currently $26.79 on the Microsoft PC Store. I would not spend that money. There's no way in hell I would spend that money on that game. But by having it up in Microsoft servers as part of their storefront, this will probably lead us all to an eventual release of that game on Game Pass. There's also Call of Duty and Call of Duty United Offensive and Call of Duty 2. So original Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty United Offensive, which was the PC exclusive game, and Call of Duty 4. No Call of Duty 3 on this list that I can see. Right now anyways. Maybe it'll happen eventually. I would like to see eventually all these Call of Duty games make their way to Game Pass. I don't see why not. But then of course, if you go over there, there's also the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare game that's up there. There's also Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, which is the remastered version of the story from Call of Duty 4. So, hey, there's a lot of Call of Duty that's currently up on the Microsoft Store, but not all of them have made their way to Game Pass. Currently, the only games that are on Game Pass that are from Call of Duty are Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. But I would not be surprised if they eventually made their way to Game Pass. So, the inevitable release of Grand Theft Auto 6 has some publishers and developers shaking in their boots. All signs point to Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out in 2025. They've even gone as far as to say Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out in 2025. But when people are screaming, begging, crying to know, and we just don't know just yet. In fact, now we have game developers that are trying to shuffle their releases around to get out of the way of Grand Theft Auto 6. I will be honest, I would hate to be the developer that puts out a game when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. Even if you're an indie developer, even if you're making a fucking match 3 puzzle game or some dating simulator or whatever, like I just think anyone and everyone will probably drop whatever it is that they're doing and pick up Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, I'm sure there are people who will not go buy Grand Theft Auto 6 day one. There are the people who don't care, who haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5 or whatever. There are probably people out there who won't. But I would say that for the most part, it is going to be a very big deal when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. So what we have is reports that there are publishers and developers that are that are feeling a little unease as they worry about when Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out. So here's what we know. Take-Two said last month the game is on track to hit its previously announced fall 2025 release window. Now, according to Bloomberg sources, rival game publishers are waiting as long as possible to commit to their release date for next fall. They want to see if Grand Theft Auto 6 will make its deadline or be delayed until 2026, with the goal being to put significant distance between the release of their own games and Rockstar's games. Take-Two has said that it's planning to avoid clashes for its biggest titles, which will also include next year's Borderlands 4. They also confirmed that Borderlands 4 gameplay will be revealed at the Game Awards on December 12th. So even the company that puts out Grand Theft Auto is trying to get out of the way of Grand Theft Auto. Now, it really begs the question. I was talking to this about this to someone at work. How many people are going to go out and buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X and S when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out? There is no world in which Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out on the PlayStation 4. It ain't happening. This is not. Right? But similar to when college football, EA Sports College Football came out exclusively on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, how many people are going to go out of their way to go purchase that console, one of those consoles, to play that game? For context, Grand Theft Auto has sold over 435 million units in its lifetime. In the case of Grand Theft Auto 5, it reached 1 billion in retail sales faster than any other entertainment release in history and has sold over 205 million units. Think about that. 435 million units across the entire franchise. Almost half of that is made up by one game. Will Grand Theft Auto 6 replicate the same success that we've seen in Grand Theft Auto 5? I don't know. It is really hard to do so. It remains to be seen. But one thing is true, that a lot of AAA publishers and developers are trying to get the fuck out of the way of Grand Theft Auto 6 for better or for worse. Now this is just a crock of shit. Croc, the Legend of the Gobbos, has been delayed. I know. You were just like, no, I wanted to play as Croc. Unfortunately, the classic remaster will no longer be coming out in December. It has now been pushed to Q1 2025. Talk about a crock of shit. Now, Argonaut Games did put out a statement saying this decision was not made lightly, but we believe that a little more time is needed to add the final touches to ensure the game meets the high standards that we aspire to and which you deserve. We understand that after 27 years of waiting, this news might be a little disappointing, especially with the festive season coming soon. However, our goal has always been to deliver a game with the quality and polish that will truly delight. We appreciate your patience and support as we work to bring Croc back in the best way possible. Every time people reference like 20 plus years of waiting, I always think about Twin Peaks, and I've been thinking about Twin Peaks for a while, so excuse me. But the ending of season 2 of Twin Peaks in 1991 does not get addressed for 25 years. So when we talk about long suffering fans, I can understand people's upset, people being upset when a game like Croc, a simple, cute, whatever game like Croc is remastered and then delayed. Like I get it. But I also cannot stress enough that a bad Croc remaster does nothing for anyone. It's bad all around. You're not going to get new fans of Croc. You're not going to remember Croc the way you imagine it. It's going to be all fucked up and weird. So I say Argonaut Games, take the time that you need to make Croc remastered as good as possible. If you like Balatro and you like playing physical cards, I have good news for you. We are officially getting Balatro playing cards. The set will also include some jokers and will be shipping next year. On December 4th, the official Balatro Twitter account announced that the official Balatro deck of playing cards is coming, and you can order it for $16 US. The deck includes 52 cards that looked ripped right out of the game, complete with pixel art queens and kings. It will also include 4 jokers based on the cards found in the game. Those joker cards are going to be the basic joker, the juggler, blueprint, and Gross Michelle. Gross Michelle is the banana joker in the game. I'm okay with these jokers. I would have preferred the weird looking the like melted joker. I would have preferred that, but it's not going to ship until 2025, March of 2025. So if you're looking to get some cards, man, I kind of want this. I kind of want this card set. Oh man, isn't it? Look, I think this is a great idea. I think it's a great idea. I don't even care that the cards cost as much as the game. It's just a cool idea, and I want to support this beautiful Canadian video game. But I might have maybe take a look at this and maybe buy this. But anyways, Balatro playing card deck, $16 US. You can pre-order it now if you would like. Got a couple news pertaining to video game layoffs. People Can Fly is suspending or laying off 120 employees. People Can Fly announced the job cuts and plans to scale back its self-publishing strategy. In a statement released on Tuesday, the CEO said that the Bulletstorm studio was suspending or parting ways with more than 120 talented aviators. This is they refer to them as aviators because they're called People Can Fly. The company said it's further reducing its self-publishing plans by suspending Project Victoria, scaling down its team on Project Bifrost, and restructuring some of its supporting teams. The CEO added, "This action became necessary as external market pressures persisted beyond our forecast. The video game market is still evolving, and we have to adjust with where things are today. We are redoubling our efforts with new work for hire engagements and focusing on the development of a single independent game. We believe in our teams, games, and their potential, and we remain extremely committed to continuing that journey. But we need to tailor our plans to our financial capacity. We are deeply grateful for the contributions of every team member impacted by this turn of events. Their talent and dedication have helped shape our company and our games. These changes are deeply felt by all of us." Now, for context, in April, People Can Fly announced that it had canceled a co-op action RPG codenamed Project Dagger after several years of development. The company behind Painkiller, Bulletstorm, Gears of War, Judgment, and Outriders had been planning to self-publish Project Dagger after it was dropped by original publisher Take-Two in 2022. And in January, People Can Fly reportedly laid off over 30 developers working on an unannounced Square Enix game. "We recognize this is a profoundly challenging time for our team members as we say goodbye to valued colleagues who have contributed so much. We are focused on supporting those impacted during this transition, providing them with resources and assistance to navigate this change, and are equally committed to caring for those staying who are managing the challenges of losing coworkers and friends. Our priority is to approach this moment with compassion and ensure our team feels supported as we work together to build a stronger future. In this hard moment, our dedication to excellence and creativity remains as strong as ever. For everyone who loves what we create, we will not give up on our dreams." And that is from People Can Fly. That is the Bulletstorm people, the Gears of War Judgment people, and Outriders, and to name a few, Painkiller as well. Now, the studio that just put out that recent Life is Strange game, this team was also so Deck 9, for context. Deck 9, the people that put out the recent Life is Strange game, the most recent one that just came out, they're also the same people that put out the Telltale The Expanse series. They have also announced that they are doing another round of layoffs. They had done layoffs before. They had previously laid off 20% of its workforce in February. They're based out of Colorado in the United States. "Today, we are sad to share the news that we must say goodbye to some of our talented team members. This was an extremely difficult decision and reflects the challenging times many companies in our industry are currently facing. We are extremely grateful to every individual who has dedicated their hard work, passion, and commitment to making transformative entertainment with us. To those of you leaving the studio due to these changes, thank you for your sharing your talents with us. We are proud that we are proud of what we were able to accomplish together, and we are committed to supporting you in this transition in any way we can. To the community, we ask for your support and understanding during this difficult time. Let's head over to videogamelayoffs.com. Why don't we do that? Let's take a look at video games, the video game layoffs. Now remember, I'm going to see if I can pull this up here. In 2023, actually no, we'll go back one more. In 2022, it was estimated that there were 8,500 job losses in the game industry. In 2023, it was estimated that we lost 10,500 jobs in the game industry. This year, 14,600 jobs lost in the game industry. Now, for context, remember, that is adding the 120 from People Can Fly, but it's also adding an unknown number of people because they didn't announce exactly how many with Deck 9. Ilphonic also recently announced layoffs. They did not announce how many people were being lost. Now, I'm curious to see if this website sorts it. It doesn't. That's okay. Who's the biggest job loss this year? Not trying to pick on anyone. Now, one thing I will mention is that they did announce as part of this, like Amazon, the Twitch group over at Amazon, that counts as job losses, right? Unity counts as a job loss, right? So like Unity cut 1,800 people, 1,800 people. Microsoft, Activision Blizzard cut 1,900 jobs. Sony cut 900 jobs. Take-Two cut 600 jobs. Sony cut another 220 jobs just from Bungie alone. Embracer Group. You already know with Embracer Group, we don't even have to say anything about Embracer Group, right? Ubisoft, 175 just from Ubisoft San Francisco and Osaka, 134 from Ubisoft Sydney. And that's how we end up with 14,600 jobs lost in the game industry this year alone. That is not accounting for the 10,500 from last year or the 8,500 from 2022. As always, I wish everybody involved in losing their jobs, I hope they all land on their feet safe and sound. This is also the worst fucking time to lose your job, right around the holidays, the winter holidays. Absolute garbage, absolute trash. Everybody involved in management who led to these decisions should have done better, should have known better, and should have positioned the company to be stronger in this environment, in this climate. And it's absolute garbage that we're still talking about this. Not only that, but the numbers are higher now than they've ever been. Absolute bullshit. Final news story for you. While on the conversation about character creators, the Dragon Age the Veilguard character creator, yes, just the Dragon Age the Veilguard character creator, is out now for free. So if you want to mess around with creating your own character in Dragon Age the Veilguard, so that if and when you decide to buy the game, you can just start it and you don't have to worry about making your character, you can do that right now because they put out a standalone character creator for free. And you know what? Like, it's not the craziest thing in the world. Like, you think about it, you could spend hours making your Rook. You know, that's the character, Rook. You could spend hours if you wanted to. So the idea of maybe getting as not only a piece of marketing, but also as like a weird demo, I actually think is not a bad idea. So that's the final news story, is that if you want to make your own character, Dragon Age the Veilguard, you can do so now for free and then imported into the game after that. Should we take a break? Now let's keep plugging along. Let's talk about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We already talked about it up at the top of the show, but now I'd like to share my thoughts on the game and maybe a little more about it. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a first-person action-adventure game from your friends and mine over at Machine Games. It is published by Microsoft. It is out now on PC and Xbox. It will be coming to PS5 in the new year. I think they said like June of next year. I want to say June of next year. And it is a game that is, played from the first person perspective, but really doesn't have a lot of first person shooting to it. It has plenty of fighting and combat and stuff, but it definitely leans more into the improvised, mechanics of, I'm going to take a shovel and bonk a guy over the head. I'm going to punch a guy in the face, and then I'm going to grab his baton and hit him with it. I'm going to whip this gun out of a guy's hands and then punch him in the face or throw him down a hole or, knock him off a building or whatever. It has a lot of that stuff to it. And it's a gorgeous looking game. I think them scanning Harrison Ford's face, but using Troy Baker's voice, Troy Baker being the voice of Sam in Uncharted and Joel in The Last of Us, just to name a few. Also, I'm just going to say it right now. Probably my favorite Troy Baker performance to this day is his portrayal of Kanji in Persona 4. That's one of my favorite Troy Baker performances. I love Persona 4. Hey, I've talked about it before. I fucking love Persona 4. But more than that, I also really love Kanji, and I think Kanji is a tremendous character. But nonetheless, he is the voice of Indy, and I think what we get is it's a younger sounding Indy, which I think makes a lot of sense. Troy Baker is not necessarily an older gentleman, the same way that Harrison Ford is. At times, he might sound a little sleepy, a little grumbly, a little mumbly, but it never seems out of place. And it doesn't necessarily feel like somebody doing an Indiana Jones impression. Like, if you kind of close your eyes and just think about it for a little bit, it kind of sounds like Indiana Jones. So I think from a facial capturing perspective and from a voice acting perspective, it really is an authentic Indiana Jones experience. But I would argue that from a gameplay perspective, they have really nailed what it must be like to assume the role of Indiana Jones. Especially because if you remember from the movies, he's not gunning down a lot of dudes. This is not Call of Duty with Indiana Jones in it, right? This is a much more sophisticated thinking man sort of action adventure game, especially when it comes to the stealth. And when it comes to thinking, it is also a lot of puzzles. A lot of, pull a switch here to activate this room, to look at this thing, to, turn this puzzle, to place this item in this particular location, to trigger this door. And it's a lot of stuff like that. The puzzles haven't been too annoying, though. Like I said, if you watch the stream from Tuesday, I did get stuck on one puzzle and I got so frustrated that I turned the stream off, but I'll probably get back to it and keep poking around with it. I think that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is pretty good. I do, however, find the combat to be a little messy in terms of punching guys while they're blocking. It doesn't seem like great in terms of you can kind of when a guard is blocking, you can kind of break their guard by punching them harder or using a weapon, but that doesn't always seem super responsive. Your parry seems a little awkward, swinging your left arm versus your right arm. It just all seems a little messy. If you're in a close encounter with multiple guys, it's hard to determine which guy you're actually punching. Cause again, it's a lot of melee weapons and melee combat in this game. There are times when I'm close to a guy, but he's going to attack me with a weapon and I want to whip the weapon out of his hand and he's too close. So I kind of just throw the whip a little bit and it doesn't really do anything. It's not effective. It just seems like some of the combat is a little mushy, a little doughy, a little raw. Now, obviously you can circumvent a lot of that in your face melee combat by doing the stealth. I just don't find myself to be a particularly stealthy guy, at least in the case of Indiana Jones. That being said, if I find a guitar hiding around some ancient crypt that I'm creeping around and I bonk him over the head all Al Caban or Jeff Jarrett style, then yeah, great. It works really, really well. Like sneaking up on a guy and hitting them in the head or pushing them off a cliff or whatever works incredibly well. Shooting a guy in the face works well, even though the shooting doesn't seem super great and the pistol that you use doesn't have a lot of ammo, but I've only used one pistol in the game so far. The whip has a great vibration to it when you have vibration on your controller. It's got a good snap, a good crack to it. It also has a really cool effect when the opening of the game. First of all, the opening of the game is you playing through the opening scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark up until the point where, well, I won't spoil where it ends. But it is basically you walking through the jungle to recreate the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And it looks so good. It feels so authentic. And a lot of it is shot for shot remade to some extent. It is really, really neat. And it basically gives you a good idea of like, hey, navigating the traps in this environment by solving the puzzle to prevent the spikes from coming up, or using the whip to, swing across a cavern or something like that. It does a lot of that stuff to set it up, but it looks so good. It feels so authentic. It's really, really awesome. And then after that, the mystery starts to unfold with what Indiana Jones is actually doing in this game. And I've spent all of my time, like I said, I'm about 3-4 hours in, and I've spent all of my time in the main game in the Vatican, running around. I got a friend who's a priest, but he maybe is on the outs with some of the other priests. But also my priest is pretty cool because he gives me baking, and he likes to listen to New York jazz records, and there's like a Indiana Jones meets him and he's like, oh, like, good to see you, buongiorno, well, whatever. And then Indy gives him like a record, and Indy says like, that's the latest Humdinger out of New York City. It's just like, I don't know, I just find that so funny. It's a good, the latest Humdinger out of New York City is a really funny way to give someone who's not familiar with a lot of North American jazz music to introduce that to. It's a funny way to describe it. Anyways, you start to meet a mysterious lady who's really hot, who might be undercover, who might be playing you, she might not be, all of that stuff. I'm not maybe quite into the big, I don't think like I've hit the big story point where I'm like, oh shit, like shit is really popping off. It seems a little small potatoes as Andy's kind of looking for this ancient artifact and how it pertains to, the Vatican where he's in, what's going on with Mussolini as he starts to take over Italy and the goons that are there, the fascists and all that stuff. But it is a very open game. I wouldn't call it open world, but like the Vatican is quite a large environment with a large amount of side quests and stuff to explore and open up. And it doesn't just seem like collectibles for the sake of collectibles. Like I said, there are small story things that you can experience doing these side quests. There is good rewards to be had by participating in these side quests as well. And I think for that reason alone, like, while it may be hard to justify the idea that Indiana Jones is running around helping everybody, solve their problems as he tries to, save the day or do whatever it is he's doing, it still feels like, when you actually get to the crux of the gameplay for some of the side content, it still feels very authentic. It still feels very Indiana Jones. Like it is, as much as I don't love the combat, this game is pretty fucking rad. I don't know what else to say other than like, I maybe don't love the mushy, squishy, face punching. But I still really enjoy doing what Indiana Jones does. And actually probably by the time I get back to playing the game, I'm going to maybe pause with that, puzzle and spend some more time running around, doing some of the side quests. Let me put it to you like this. The open environments such as the Vatican are so large that it still features fast traveling. So we'll put it to you there. Like if you've been to an environment and you don't want to run all the way back, you can definitely fast travel. It's also one of those games where like there are multiple ways to like, oh, I'm trying to sneak into this base, or I'm trying to like, enter the secret dig site or something. And there are multiple ways of going about doing it, right? Like I can go in guns blazing, or I can sneak in, or I can, take out all the guards, or I can, trigger this thing or whatever. There is a lot to the open nature of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle that is really fantastic. And I am it's not that I'm surprised by it, but I'm just like, wow, like this is a game I now need to finish for Game of the Year contention. Like that's where I'm at with Indiana Jones. Again, I don't love the combat, at least from the squishy melee perspective, but I will also say that by doing side quests and earning money and ability points, I think they call them adventure points, you can upgrade Indiana Jones abilities. There's a stamina system, so you do have to think about how much you're punching an enemy, how much you're guarding an enemy's attacks, how much you're running and stuff, because you can use stamina, and stamina will take time to regenerate, but you can get an upgrade where it's like, oh, every time you knock out an enemy, you're going to earn a little bit of stamina back so that you become more powerful for your next attacks, for your next guy, for your next combat encounter and stuff like that, which is smart. Even though the idea of like leveling up your Indiana Jones doesn't make a lot of sense in the context of Indiana Jones, it still works really well in the context of like, oh, I'm becoming a more powerful character as we go along and do things. So, I'm still really early on in Indiana Jones, but damn if that game hasn't really impressed me, really blown me away. Just in terms of how authentic it is to like be Indiana Jones and do that stuff. They have really nailed it there. And to be honest, like if they have the chance to do this again, I would much rather see another Indiana Jones game from them than another Wolfenstein game. I was committed to coming on this podcast and being like, I want a new Wolfenstein, damn it, let me shoot Nazis. But I think what Machine Games has evolved into, taking influence from their past work like the Chronicles of Riddick games, taking influence from other Bethesda and Microsoft studios like Arcane and the Dishonored games, and maybe taking influence from stuff like Deus Ex. It's fucking rad, man. Like the music, it is exactly what you want it to be. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It's good presentation of indie, good voice acting from Troy Baker. It's a good look. Man, that game is cool as shit. And just talking about it makes me excited to want to go back and play it. So, yeah, Indiana Jones is so far is really awesome. I will temper anything by saying the jury is still out. Maybe I get really sick of the combat. Maybe a puzzle comes along that just infuriates me. Maybe I have trouble navigating some of the larger environments. Like anything could happen. But in my time with this game so far, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is pretty fucking cool. And I think that is going to do it for the podcast today. I have been GnittWitt. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree. That is linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. I am on Twitch. I am on YouTube. I am on Blue Sky. I am on TikTok. I am on Instagram, and I'm on Instagram Threads. But not only that, come on back tomorrow afternoon, 4:30 Pacific Standard Time, live on Twitch. We're going to stream us talking over the Game Award Showcase. Unless anything happens, anything comes up, that's what I'm going to be doing. So come on back and we'll do this all again tomorrow. We'll see you then. Take it easy.